Hey guys, this is Alan Stewart with B&B Yacht Designs. Today I'm in the workshop with the boat, but I'm actually going to be doing a video about my PFD and all the things that I carry on it. Okay, this is my PFD. I've got it on obviously. It's a Kokatat Misfit model, and I'll have links in the description of the video for all the things that I'm showing here. I'll go over all the stuff on the front and then we'll take it off and we'll take it apart. So on the front here, starting on my left hand side, I have a pocket here. And one of the nice things about this PFD is that it has a lot of pockets. And actually one of the main benefits to wearing the PFD is to have all these things at hand ready to go whenever you need them. So starting on the left here in this pocket, I have a whistle that's on a string tied to the strap that's built into the PFD. I've got my Leatherman Wave on a snap shackle, and I'll oftentimes leave it attached to the snap shackle, but I can take it off really easily if I want to. The Leatherman Wave has a built-in little lanyard hook that I utilize. It's kind of hidden in there, but they all have it, and so I use this all the time, and it's right there ready to use. I've also got in here another line that's got some electrical tape on a string if I need to wrap up a knot or something like that. And I usually keep my spork in here so that I don't have to go searching for it when it's time to, eat a freeze-dried meal or something like that. And everything's online, so when I pull it out of the pocket, everything can just hang there. I'm not going to lose it. And when I'm done doing whatever I'm going to do, I can just stuff all this stuff back in the pocket. So a lot of times it all comes out when I pull something out, but it goes right back in. This pocket is not full yet, so I'll put trash in there if I have some trash or something else. Okay, next here we have a knife, and the Watertribe recommended equipment list, which I'll also have linked, requires a knife that can be operated with one hand. And technically, I think the Leatherman counts, but you can see right now I'm kind of having to fumble for it, and then you have to open it before you could use it. So if you're actually trying to cut yourself away from something, you probably wouldn't want to use that. So this knife here I found online. It's a real cheap one, and you just pull the snap and pull it out, and it's got a serrated edge and a straight edge. This one's just a metal knife with some holes in it and some paracord wrapped around the handle. It's not a particularly great knife. It was cheap, that's all. And I have it mounted upright as opposed to pulling down because the handle tends to snag on stuff. I don't have this knife on a lanyard, although it should be. I just didn't get around to tying it off. Next we have my GPS right here for my right hand. And this pocket, I guess, would be used for a VHF, but I use it for my GPS. And just like everything else, it's tied on. This has got a carabiner, and I like it on a carabiner because if I'm sailing at night, what I'll often do is I'll unclip it from my PFD and turn the backlight on, staying on, and I'll clip it off to the end of the sheet or something so I can set it on the cockpit seat in front of me. And that way I don't have to be constantly checking it. I can just look down and it's got, the minimum backlight, and I can see if I need to turn left or right depending on the course I'm trying to be on. So I just clip that actually to the strap like that. And I leave it with the screen facing me just like the way I'm going to use it, so that I can just pull it out, check my course or whatever, and slip it back in. It works really good. It doesn't lose satellite reception that way. And I must pull it out, hundreds of times a day, just like that. Okay, in the far right hand pocket, I've got my VHF radio, and I've got it tied on as well with a carabiner to the little thing that's built into the pocket. This is an ICOM IC-M88 model, and it uses, I think, AAA batteries. Let's see here. It uses 5 AA batteries. I like the ones that use batteries because you can replace them. You don't have to wait for it to charge. So I usually keep 2 of these on board, and this just snaps in here. I've had this radio for a long time. The biggest problem with keeping a VHF in your life jacket pocket is that it'll cut on its own and you won't hear it, or it'll be just on, you know, like low volume because the knob will rub in the pocket. So what I've come up with is to use rubber band. If you've been around me for a while, you know I've usually got rubber bands on my arm. They're just handy for whatever. So what I do is I put the rubber band around the radio, and this works for other radios, not just this one. And then I take the rubber band and I loop it around the knob, and then I tension it on the back side. Like I'll pull it from here and tension it down around the back. And now if it gets clicked on, I don't know if you can hear that, but it just automatically clicks itself off. So it can't get turned on its own in the pocket, and that's how I leave it. And I keep the VHF on me, obviously, because if I need to use it, I don't have to go looking for it. It's right there already in my pocket. You know, you're calling a bridge tender or whatever, you just pop the rubber band off and you can use it. If you get a lot of water on these, the speakers will stop working. So sometimes you have to blow out the speaker and then it'll work fine. So that's something to watch out for. And I usually put it in so the antenna is kind of on this side so that it works better with the zipper, but I can still zip it totally in there. Okay, that's everything that's immediately accessible on the front. Then of course on the back, I can reach over my left shoulder and I've got my strobe light so that if I just twist it clockwise, then my strobe starts flashing. You have to be able to access your strobe light with one hand over your shoulder. I see sometimes they're zip tied down too low and you can't get to them. So you want it to where when you go like that, that's where it is. Okay, the other thing that's on my left shoulder here is my PLB, my personal locator beacon. And I've made a custom little sleeve for it, and I'll get some close-up shots for that later. But this is just a piece of, I think it was a piece of wetsuit, and I sewed a little Velcro pad to it. And then it's got a little piece of webbing with a loop at the bottom, and this is sewn onto the shoulder strap. And I don't usually undo the Velcro. I just leave it like a loop. And so here's the PLB, and you know, you have to release the antenna, rotate it up, and then that reveals the two buttons that you have to push to activate it. And so when I'm storing it, I just have it wrapped up like that. It's attached to the bottom of the webbing, and then I just slip it up into that little pocket. If you tie it onto your shoulder strap or you zip tie it down, then you can't use it. So it either needs to be in a pocket, or I like to have it here because I just know where it is and I can just pop it right out if I ever needed to use it. It's on a short lanyard, so you know I can still see what it's doing, but I don't have to, it's not going to get wrapped around my arm or something like that. Okay, the only other thing I have on the front of my PFD is if you zip open the front pocket on this PFD, there is a secondary pocket inside the little, you know, breast flaps or whatever you want to call them. And here it is right here. And in this little pocket, I have two Orion aerial flares that are just little handheld. You know, you hold it and pull the cord. And then also down in here, I have a signal mirror for if I'm gonna, you know, signal somebody. I've never had to use the signal mirror, but you know, the flares are right there if you ever needed them, if you're floating in the dark, or you know, if you're abandoned ship and you had to swim somewhere and you're trying to signal somebody. Okay, I've got another thing on the back, the little pocket, so we'll take it off and I'll show you what I carry in there. So I've got this little Cocatat backpack, and this is originally for a hydration pack, I believe. This is for carrying some water, but I'm not using it for that. I think the hose would come out this hole and wrap under your arm. I'm just using it for storage. And in here I have a dry bag with some fire starting stuff, and I have another couple of flares, and I have some like paracord and some zip ties. You could really put anything in here. That's everything that's in there at the moment. But basically what this is for is if you have to abandon ship, this is like your little ditch bag that's always with you. And in the Watertribe, you're required to have a hypothermia kit. And so that's what this is. It's a little hypothermia kit, and it's just always with me. So if I have to abandon ship and I swim up on the beach and I'm absolutely freezing cold, this is, you know, for fire starting basically. So in here I have a little dry bag, and then in that I have a little plastic bag with my hypothermia kit. This is a swimmer's cap. It's a trick for getting warm is you throw on a swimmer's cap, and it blocks the wind because your hair is usually wet, and the wind blowing through your hair will cool you off really fast. So, you know, imagine you just swam to shore and you lost your beanie or your hat or whatever you were wearing in the process. So I've got that, and then in here is basically just hypothermia stuff. I've got 2 little fire starter sticks. I've got a box of stormproof matches. These are the kind that, you know, it's got a little separate striking pad, and it's got a bag of big stormproof matches in there. I've got 2 little chemical heaters for your hands or feet or whatever, or stick them in your armpits. And then I've got a survival blanket that's one of these aluminized, you know, reflective style. And that's it. It's just this, you know, it's just something that you could use to get yourself warm. If you, like I said, if you had to swim to shore and you're soaking wet in the middle of the night, the wind's blowing, you've got a little bit of shelter, you've got something to start a fire, and you've got something, you know, a little extra that you could use to signal with, and that's all that's in here. I guess these could go in the bag too. So like I said, you're required to have a hypothermia kit in the Watertribe. This isn't necessarily something you would carry on a day sail, but the thing about it is once you set this up, it's more work to not take it than to just take it. You know, none of this stuff is obtrusive or in my way when I'm, you know, using my boat. And so even if I'm just going for a quick day sail, you know, I just grab my PFD. It's already set up with all my Watertribe equipment, and it's all stuff that could come in handy, you know, if I needed it. So that's what's in the little backpack. There's, I'll try and find this online, but there's probably other brands that you could use. It just clips into the existing straps. It's got 2 little clips down here and 2 little clips on the back of the shoulder strap, and it's a Velcro closure. So that's it. That's my, that's the whole PFD, and got a little scale here. 5.9 pounds, 2.68 kilograms. Okay, these are my 2 favorite lights for using on the boat right now. This one is called an Ultrafire, and you can get these on Amazon super cheap. This runs off a single AA battery, and it's not waterproof, but it does have an O-ring here, and it just has a little rubber push button on the back. And what I like about this light is you can turn it into a spotlight. The lens pushes back and forth. You can actually see the LED down in there. And so it kind of has a spotlight, and you can push it forward and you get a really small spotlight. And so we use these for picking out channel markers, and I just keep this clipped to my PFD and it's there all the time. I really like this light. The other one that I use is a headlamp, and this is a UK Vision. It runs off of 3 AAA batteries, and it has a spotlight as well as a red light. You just rotate it to get the red, and it just goes through a little red screen. And this one I like because it's super simple, lightweight, and if you open it up here, you just pull the inside out, and it's got an O-ring right around here, and there's the 3 batteries, and it's just super simple. You just stick it in there and you're good to go. So I've been using these for a long time. It also pivots so you can look forward or look down. It lasts a long time. You can use it on the boat and you can use it in the tent. So those are my 2 favorites, and I'll put links to them in the description. We're tricking people into thinking our boat's in the water.
Why?
For fun.